21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
You can literally create a multi-million-dollar business from next to nothing. And I want to share today a simple 5-step process with an added bonus to get you there. This is for anyone who's ever wondered or looked at their life and asked the question, is this where I belong? Like, am I okay with this life? So if you imagine growing up believing your destiny was predetermined, that you were locked in this life for the rest of your life, only to discover that you have the power to rewrite it. Well, that's my story, and it can be yours too. My name is Samantha Upchurch, and I grew up in a very small village in Greece. My father, he was fully Greek. My grandparents were farmers. You know, we had tractors and chicken in the backyards, and, you know, my nan would go out and slaughter the lamb to be placed on the spit rope for Easter. It was, you know, my predominant younger years were in essence, you know, while children are forming the understanding of the world, I thought that was going to be my world for the rest of my life. And don't get me wrong, you know, I love my family. I'm proud that I was born into a close-knit village of around 900 people, a place where everyone knew everyone, and simplicity shaped our lives. So it was idyllic in many ways, a village filled with love, but it was also very limiting for me. And by 8 years old, I believed this world was going to be my forever. And I remember all of a sudden, this belief was completely shattered. It was a hot summer's day. It was in 1995 when my mom announced that she was getting a divorce from my dad. And I was ripped out of this loving, close-knitted community. And my mother brought us to England, and we ended up with nothing. So there was no family around anymore, no money, and no dad. And I literally witnessed poverty firsthand. So we had nothing. I remember sitting, you know, on the sofa with my older brother at Christmas, and, you know, we'd be watching these American Christmas movies, you know, with the beautiful American homes and the white picket fences and the immaculately manicured lawns and the beautiful big Christmas gatherings, you know, all filled with loved ones around them. While I vividly recall huddling under blankets with my brother during freezing winters because we couldn't afford heating. And at that moment in time, I must have asked myself a pivotal question subconsciously at the age of 8, 9 years old. Am I okay with this life? And the answer was a resounding no. However, like I knew I had to finish school, but I never chose to go to university or college right after. I realized that I had to create a new life. Like, I had to become, in essence, a new person. So what I started to do is I started to do the opposite of everything that I'd been doing right up until this point. So if I was afraid, I became courageous. You know, if I felt shame, I became, you know, I embraced it with pride. If I was full of hate, I chose love. And at 19, I remember taking a leap of faith with just £500 to my name, because I was still living in England at the time. And I started my first business at the age of 19 as a mobile hair extensionist. Well, within 1 year, I had my first salon. And by year 2, I had my second salon. And I was voted the best salon in the Midland of the UK. And I had literally more money than sense, or more money than I ever had, imagined at the age of 21. But here's the thing. Success to me without a foundation is fragile. I didn't necessarily follow a process to get there. And because I had no process, I ended up losing it all and I became really sick. Initially, it was digestive problems. And then from digestive problems, I developed this skin rash that completely covered my head to toe. And it looked like I had been burnt. I thought that I would be scarred. And especially as a female, like, beauty is everything. And anyway, I was given also a very scary diagnosis at the young age of 23. And so I knew I had to turn my life around again. I had to literally unlearn everything that I'd learned up until this point. And it was only until I started to do that, that again, once I started to touch everything, it turned to gold and my health started to reverse to my healthy, vibrant state. And so this journey was by far my greatest blessing because it taught me this 5-step process. And my husband and I own multi-million-dollar businesses. And I do live in my American house with my white picket fence. And this journey forced me to develop this 5-step guide that I'm sharing with you today. And these principles literally took me from zero to millions. And I believe vehemently that they can do the same for anyone willing to embrace them. So the 5-step journey is this. So number one is ultimately reprogramming your mind. I'm a huge Dr. Joe Dispenza fan, and he states your personality creates your personal reality. So if you want a new reality, you need a new personality. And when I asked myself if I belonged in poverty, I didn't just wish for change. I became the change. If I was afraid, I became courageous. If I felt shame, I replaced it with pride. You must identify and break free from limiting beliefs that tether you to your current state. But in order for this to happen, you have to do what a lot of people don't do, which is the dirty work. So the first thing that most people are afraid to do is to work on themselves. So simply getting a piece of paper, drawing a line down in the middle of the page, writing on one side my strengths and one side my weaknesses. And on the strength sides, write down everything you love about yourself, everything that excites you, everything you're good at. And then on your weakness side, make sure that you do this part, that you write down your failures, you write down your flaws, all the ugly things and the truths that you don't necessarily love about yourself. And then all you do, simple, from your weakness list, you get a thesaurus and you look at the opposing word or the antonym to that word. So for example, if you say, I don't like myself because I do not feel good enough, then you change this sentence to, I love myself because I feel worthy in all aspects of my life. But you have to do this part though, because you cannot manage or improve what you do not measure. So the actionable takeaway here is if you look at your flaws and you rewrite them into positive ones, and then you start every single day with a visualization exercise and you picture that life that you want and the person that you need to become to live it. Affirm it, write it down, speak it out loud, and truly believe it and let it go. So that's number one. Step number two is you have to be deciding what your passion is. You have to decide your passion, because without passion, you will fail. I promise you that. Passion fuels perseverance. But you might be asking yourself the question like, how do I find my passion? I don't really know. Well, if you completed step one, you should know the answer to this stage. You should be able to tell, that, hey, this is what my passion is. You've got to look for what excites you. What makes time disappear. And by completing, like I say, step one, you'll be able to program your mind. For me, it was on entrepreneurship, and then later on health and wellness by default, because I became really, really sick and was in essence given a death sentence. So I turned my health around, and now I'm so passionate about health. But without passion, challenges will defeat you, and that's an absolute given. But with passion, they'll strengthen you. So again, actionable takeaway on that is write down and refine the 3 things that excite you. Reflect on how you can turn them into opportunity. Passion is the engine and strategy is the vehicle. So for example, Let's say if cars excite you or makeup, write down all the business ideas related to those passions. Perhaps it's like a car dealership that you want to open up, or if you're interested in beauty or makeup, maybe it's a brand that you want to focus on, so it's all about when you write things down, you can, and it does become a reality. So moving on to step 3, you have to adopt a relentless work ethic. I'm a huge Ed Mylett fan, and he says, you don't get what you want, you get what you work for. You don't get what you want, you get what you work for. So when I started my business at 19, I relentlessly was working every hour God sent. But later, when success came too easily for me, I ended up letting my guard down. And that was my downfall. It was my pitfall, because relentless work ethic isn't just necessarily working 24/7. It's about intentional, focused effort every single day. And so really the key takeaway here is scheduling your day down to the hour. So you're prioritizing tasks that bring the most value. Consistency wins over intensity every single day, day in, day out. So my old coach, actually, Adam Stott, when I was living in the UK, who was my business coach and a person that I want to give a huge, amount of credit to my success, he told me, Sam, he said, get a sheet of paper, write down everything that you do on an hourly basis over 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, you will find out very quickly where your time was drained and where you excelled. And then all you do is you double down on the actions where you excelled. And so when I have my businesses now, I do the same thing with my staff members. I tell them, get a sheet of paper out, write it out for 2 weeks, and then double down on the things that brought you that success. And so that's really when my business has started to explode. And you're literally building this entire machine of not only yourself, but staff and people who are devoted and they're excelling in their positions. Moving on to step number 4. In order to build a multi-million-dollar business, you need to be building resilience and overcoming setbacks. As Tony Robbins says, every setback is a setup for a comeback. So when I lost everything at 23, I thought it was the end for me. Because, as a kid, you're like, oh my God, I'm doomed. But in reality, for me, it was just the beginning of something greater. Resilience isn't just bouncing back, it's actually bouncing forward. So you're learning from your failures and you're using them as stepping stones. And the word stepping stones actually reminds me of a story with my son, who was only 7 years old at the time. And he was super into gaming. I mean, he's kind of gone down the sport route now, which is great. But he was super into gaming. And I remember one day, I heard him shouting upstairs in his room. And my son's he's a reserved kid, he's a quiet kid, very emotionally intelligent. And so I was super alarmed, and I ran up the stairs to his room and I kind of opened the door. I said, Zach, what is going on? Like, why are you shouting? And he said, Mommy, I can't do this. I mean, he used to call me Mommy. It doesn't now. It's the typical mom, because we live in the States. But he called me, Mommy at the time. And he said, Mommy, I can't do this. I said, son, what is it you cannot do? He said, well, I'm playing this game. He said, I'm on this final level and I keep falling in the water and I have to start all over again. And I just can't do it. So obviously watching the frustration naturally, on his face, and I'm, there and I'm kind of fretting and I'm thinking, what do I do? So I turned around to him and I said calmly, I said, Zach, son, I said, we need to stop and think about things a little differently from here. So what was happening was that he was getting to this point. It was like this stream where he had to cross the river, but he had to jump on the stones to get to the other side. And I said to him, listen, at school, you've been learning about Einstein. And he says, if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over, expecting a different result. I said, that's insane. So he steps back and he looks at me and he says, all confused, he said, what? I said, well, you're going to have to do something different if you want to get or step onto the other side. So I said, I'll tell you what, I said, get to the point where you keep getting stuck on. And then I said, stop, and then let's revise. So he did. And then anyway, in essence, his character, like I said, had to climb on some stepping stones of rock to get to the other side of this bridge. And this stream was blocking his path. And this was his final level. So I said, right, stop and look around you and have a think. I said, have a think. Do you have any resources or tools that you can use that you've built up from the past 6 or 7 levels? Can you see an opportunity you didn't see before? Do you perhaps have a connection or a friend to call who got past this level? And so he stopped and he had a think and he looked around for a few minutes, and all of a sudden he goes, right, I got this, Mom, I got it. And what he did is that he saw another stepping stone closer to him that he hadn't originally seen at the time he was trying to hop onto the other side of this stream to get to the bridge and win the game. So the point here that I'm making is that when you find yourself getting stuck with the same problem or obstacle, stop and think before acting the same way as in the past. Do you have your spouse? Do you have your significant other? Do you have a friend? Do you have a coach? Do you have an acquaintance or a connection or someone who can help you? Have you acquired tools or resources that can help you at this point? Have you developed new skills, or do you see opportunities that you might have not done before? So again, simple actionables takeaway with step 4, and it really is reframing that failure. You're writing down, let's say, your 3 lessons from your most recent setback and how you can apply that moving forward, and make sure that you look to seek help where you feel like you need it. And lastly, before I get to the bonus, the final step, step 5, is really about realigning with your goals and being grateful and expressing gratitude. And honestly, this was a hard lesson for me to learn, because as with my hair extension business, I stopped trying because I thought I had it all and I wasn't grateful for the people or the things or the lessons that I had acquired. And so gratitude really helps keep you grounded in a very busy world. And when I lost sight of gratitude, I lost everything, including my health. And so I honestly feel like gratitude aligns you with that abundance and keeps you focused on what truly matters. And realignment, so the second word, so realignment and gratitude, or the first word, realignment, ensures your actions match your goals and your values. So the actionable takeaway here is start and end your day every single day by listing the things that you're grateful for, and reflect weekly on whether your actions align with your future goals. You are perfect as you are right now, for the environment that you live in right now. You are perfect. But in order to get to that next stage in the game, you have to develop new skill sets, new resources, new connections, and a new you. And if the person today, like I say again, doesn't align with the person you want to become, then you need to recycle this process. So amongst all of this, developing this 5-step process that I use in every single business that I set up, and I continue to do. There is a bigger picture here, though, which we haven't yet covered, and it needs to be addressed. And from my angle, success isn't just about having an abundant mindset. Success is also being abundant in health. And one of my current businesses is an at-home testing company that helps you uncover the most compatible diet for you, your body, and your success. Because at Advanced Food Intolerance Labs, we help people uncover hidden barriers to health. Psychological limiting beliefs, like we've just established, like I'm not good enough, is obviously working from a place of deficiency. It's working from a place of lack. And that can also coexist with biochemical or nutritional lacks, things like nutritional deficiencies or toxins or inflammatory food items. Health isn't really valued until illness comes. And to achieve success, you must address both psychological and both nutritional or biochemical lacks. And I feel that the word, let's say, selfish, tends to get a bad rap. But in essence, if you really ask yourself the question, how can you pour into a successful business from an empty cup? You can't, right? So this is why it's important to reprogram psychological limiting inflammatory beliefs, but also to reprogram your biochemical nutritional needs to truly become the greatest and most powerful machine to tackle any storm. And honestly, for me, this was my biggest calling in life. And this is why, the reason why Advanced Food Intolerance Labs was born. And of course, our new microbiome testing business, which is launching in 2025. It will help those who want to stop working from a place of lack and give you the tools that you need to become unstoppable. In essence, the journey for me to millions starts with this simple 5-step process. And once you have achieved this process, you just simply rinse and repeat.
Two different levels, I cannot relate. You never win if you playing it safe. It's all a game until you get played. You speaking so loud with nothing to say. Hey, I'm betting it down on me.
If you're ready to uncover what's holding you back with your health, you can go to www.advancedfoodintolerancelabs.com and you can take the quiz on our website, and it will also have a discount code where you can take 15% off all our tests and all our products. And for aspiring entrepreneurs, stay tuned for my Inner Circle launching next year here in 2025. It's a community designed to take you from zero to millions in less than 2 years. Remember, the journey to millions starts with this 5 simple step process. And once you have achieved this process, you simply rinse and repeat.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Imagine a space where triumphs, trials, and tales of entrepreneurship come alive. Welcome to the 21st Century Entrepreneurship Podcast, a gold awarded journey hosted by Martin Piskarik, connecting with listeners in 95 countries and ranking in the top 0.5% of all podcasts. Join our exclusive community, elevate your perspective, and embark on the path to success.